On October 25, 1960, a Soviet newspaper reported that Marshal Nedelin, a decorated Russian military hero holding a high position, died in a plane crash. Similarly, about 150 families lost their loved ones around the same time. Someone from your family passed away too. When you asked for their body, we were told it wasn't available and couldn't be given to you. The government said they don't know how they died, but this news was covered up by Russia and the West. The site is going to America. Some important rocket scientists have died. If you understand that this brand has some kind of secret, they usually watch their spy satellites to keep an eye on Russia's rocket tests happening at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Only then do they truly realize what's going on. This place saw the most massive rocket explosion the world has ever seen. Over 150 people died. Russia kept this truth hidden for 30 years since it happened in 1960. Just think about the accident. They only accepted it happened in 1990. Families didn't even know the truth and must have suffered so much. How? Why did this accident happen? This is about a missile that took 150 lives as revenge. The root cause of all this is the Cold War. After World War II ended, the US and Russia started a space race to see who would dominate space. Slowly, little by little, it was like Sputnik. A couple of dogs were sent into orbit and then brought back to Earth. Russia has been achieving great feats. They need to further improve this rocket technology. Mainly, they want to make these rockets for military use. Until then, the R-7 rocket they've been using is a standard rocket. It uses cryogenic fuels and requires a dedicated station to prepare it. It takes about 6 to 8 months to get it ready, including all the pre-launch tests, before it can be launched. This rocket is basically an intercontinental ballistic missile. If you've seen it come, they've been trying to modify it. It's basically a ballistic missile that can carry a thermonuclear warhead capable of striking far-off targets. But you can't just modify an R-7 like that. We could use this, but if there's any threat, if we find out the enemy is attacking us, it'll take at least 2 or 3 days to fully fuel it. Setting up a station and launching it would somehow take about 2 months. Would this station be in Baikonur? They're going to launch this rocket at us. Once we find out the enemy country has fired something, we can use a heat seeker to completely dismantle it and get rid of it. So, I thought we should be ready to launch as soon as we hear a missile has been fired. They're planning to set aside the R-7 and build a whole new rocket platform. The R-16 was made by the military. Back then, the rocket division was led by strategist Marshal Nedelin. At that time, the chief designer in a higher position in this department was Mikhail. They asked you to develop the ICBMs that are always ready, without making a big fuss. They agreed to. I told them to give me some time, like 2 years, to finish the results and then deliver. But they said it can't be done in 2 years. They need the results right away. They want those missiles that can carry thermonuclear warheads ready immediately. That's when they started pressuring us, right from the day they said it. Next year marks the 47th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution. We definitely have to showcase this rocket at the event. Beyond its importance to national defense, it's also a matter of personal pride for me. I want to be recognized as a strategist in rocket defense. I need people to see that only I can make this happen. So, some chief designers in the department, working for their own gain, insisted on putting their names on the project properly. The engineers have seriously started taking on a ton of tough work. For the 10th grade exam, this guy was the one who directly went there and told people to do this and that. He was given tasks even he didn't know about, and the engineers had to push through really hard, struggling a lot. If anyone from the 10th grade just stood around doing nothing, they got some other kind of punishment. Someone always had to be doing something. That's how the whole program was running in my mind. Within a year, it became really powerful. They're planning to create a compact, ready-to-launch intercontinental ballistic missile that can strike targets at a distance. A chief designer usually comes up with a design in about 2 months. Unlike the previous R-7 model, this one is a 2-stage rocket they've developed. Instead of using their usual cryogenic propellants, they plan to use a new mixer hypergolic propellant. Cryogenic fuels only stay stable for a few days, So this new propellant allows the rocket to be launched just a few days after fueling. That rocket fuel can be loaded easily, but the hypergolic mixture can always be stored right inside the rocket. When needed, you just ignite it and it takes off. For this hypergolic propellant, they use two substances, unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine, UDMH, and nitrogen tetroxide. When this oxidizer works, you don't need a separate spark to ignite the mixture. As soon as the two mix and come into contact, it's enough. They spontaneously ignite. That's why it's used. The Russian developers gave this hypercarbolic propellant a nickname, Devil's Venom. It's like the poison of the demon Arakan. They say if you get near it, your whole body will burn up. Just breathing in this chemical vapor could kill you. It's such a terrible combination. They didn't just call it Devil's Venom for nothing. They're making a rocket, the R-6, that uses this propellant. Unlike the R-16, it doesn't need separate stations. It has two stages, and it's always ready at those times. The fuel propellant is fully loaded. If there's no mobile platform, even with separate silos, you can load these missiles and launch them from there. So, there's pretty much no chance this design and making will be done within a year. But still, when the engineers and designers looked at it, due to political pressure, somehow overnight they managed to get this somewhat ready. You could say they have about 80% of a prototype ready. But this is what I think. No way. My Italy is already putting pressure on me. Next month in November, they're having their anniversary. I need to present this missile then. Everyone's telling me to keep it low-key and focus on heavy work, telling me to get this ready for pre-launch right away and placing the order. Before the official launch, we need to do a pre-launch test to make sure it works properly. That's what they're saying. Back in October 1960, they made that prototype and started working on a pre-launch plan. At that time, they didn't really care much about safety standards. That stuff came later. Later on, they basically ignored a lot of safety. It doesn't seem like they paid proper attention to a lot of the electrical equipment either. The pre-launch was just rushed and ready to go. Just checking to see if this pre-launch actually went smoothly or not. Even though you was working alongside him in the department as a higher official, some people were sitting in the front seat getting lunch ready, and that's when a small problem started. An electrical equipment related to the lunch wasn't working properly. To fix it, they had to drain the entire fuel, repair the electrical equipment, and then refuel everything again, which would take about a week. So they asked Nedelin if they could postpone this pre-launch by a week. If you don't get anything, there's no need for you to train with all this fuel stuff. Just keep the fuel in the tank. Get the engineers who can immediately prepare this electrical equipment and finish it off. The launch has to happen today itself. Right from the base of this launch pad, you told them to get these equipments ready, and the engineers who went there sat down and started working with a lot of pressure. The guy thinks launching this is like roasting a papadum. Sheesh. The designer got super pissed and said, "I'm gonna mess this up big time." So he went about 100 meters away, back to his camp, and started doing his thing. The other engineers nearby just stayed put, probably thinking, let's see what he does. Meanwhile, they began moving around the rocket. Over 150 engineers and technicians who worked on the rocket started gathering right next to it. The rocket was already built with two stages. The lower stage was ready. The first stage just helps launch the rocket. The second stage is the one that actually guides the missile. So, you can say the second stage is what keeps it on course. The first stage only assists with the launch. That's where we use the devil, probably a nickname or tool. They came and told us if there were any problems, and all the engineers just stood around the rocket base watching for fun. When it cuts off, the second stage automatically ignites. The second stage has those fire mechanisms at the bottom front. Sent it to the first stage. No need for the tables that were stored. It reacted suddenly, exploded and scattered all over. It was a massive explosion no one expected. The sad part is all the engineers and designers who worked on it are devastated and scared of Nedelin. Someone nearby is just sitting quiet, waiting for Nedelin's launch phase. That rocket, which carried 150 tons of fuel, blew up unexpectedly in seconds, releasing heat up to 3,000 degrees Celsius. Yeah, everyone nearby just melted and burned to ash. They say it was due to the heat from the fire. Couldn't they identify the body with the martial arts marks? In such a terrible situation, everyone just melted and died right where they stood. That huge fireball burned for almost 20 seconds. Those who were close by didn't stand a chance. The camera operator who was recording this didn't even switch the camera on properly, so we only got a few clips. Some people's bodies were completely. You can see how the fire is spreading. Everyone caught in the fire has died. Even those who stayed away from the fire got affected because the chemical vapor mixed with the smoke. people suffocated and died. So, some who didn't catch fire also died openly from suffocation. They estimate that more than 150 people might have died. It's confirmed that 75 people are dead. Some bodies have been found, but many have turned to ashes. The dust has changed completely. They say, man, the heat has been so intense that it's burning everyone's body to ashes during the peak time. The only one who got through without a scratch is our sharp designer, Mikkel. Got to admit, the guy who tried to mess with him ended up escaping. But because of that, Mikkel's leg has been hurting badly the whole time. I'm pretty sure that's why such a huge blast happened. I told everyone I'm the reason behind all this. And with that guilt, the guy had a heart attack and died. We need a rocket immediately. I said my honor lies in that. Even Nedelin's body too. No way. Russia must be thought they could just hide such a huge blast. When you see that explosion, made at such insanely high temperatures, no one could have stopped it. The fire just kept burning until it went out. Only after that did they start counting the bodies. Think about that. This is the perfect example of how political pressure always stops science from progressing. My respect lies right here. I immediately told them we need that rocket and pushed hard with more political pressure. The guy was almost stopping the engineers and designers from doing their jobs. His name is linked to this huge disaster called the Nedelin Catastrophe. Hundreds of people have died. You could call it a massive disaster. The world has never seen such a big rocket launch failure before. But now that this truth is out, Russia is scared, and the public's trust in them and their space program is completely gone. The people have lost faith. If you find out that Americans just stormed into a neighborhood and by evening some guy named Nedelin died in a plane crash, and that's all the news they spread, only sending that info to other families without saying how he died, who he was with, or why it happened, then those families can't even come out and talk about it. Russia is really tightening the screws, and that's exactly how it should be said. No one can even breathe talking about this. It's that intense. Instead of worrying about people dying, Yuri Gagarin, the first human sent to space, managed to change the mindset of the people during that celebration. That celebration of the first man going to space completely made people forget about the deaths of 150 others. It was only after the Soviet Union collapsed that the truth about all the things they had hidden started coming out. After that, in the 1980s and 90s, the real story began to become known to the world. Actually, in the meantime, the CIA in America did some research and guessed what might have really happened. A report has been released, but they haven't publicized it. Official news came from the Russian side first. And only after that can we say the CIA intelligence got hold of that report. So the Americans and Russians together have hidden this huge bombshell. We can't even count how many people died or survived. They didn't get any bodies. They only confirmed and memorialized about 70 to 75 people by writing their names on a stone. That R-6 rocket took so many lives. You think they just gave up? No way. It's a beautiful, intelligent design. A two-stage design. No one had done this before. After narrowly escaping failure, Michael Young, the higher official, pushed this design forward and got this R-16 rocket ready and delivered. For about 20 years, this rocket ICBM was one of the most powerful weapons on Russia's side. And if you look at the chemical mixture used in it, you'll see it's been used in many places even till now. America, Russia, and the US use these devils, the fuel problems, in the important stages of rockets like PSLV and GSLV in India. This chemical mixture isn't a problem in rocket design. The issue happened because the engineers designing it weren't allowed to work properly, and some greedy middleman took contracts for personal profit. That's why such a huge disaster happened. After that, every rocket test followed way more safety standards than before. They've done it. Nothing this bad has ever happened anywhere before. Even before, when the chief defense said it, it was already done. These 150 people have died. Innocent, helpless people always end up as victims of high political pressure. Rest in peace. This is a sign of the times.